Alright, here is my piece of board. And I have it on my flattening jig to get it through the planer, because if you look underneath, there's a bow. It's touching on the left, touching on the right, but there's a gap in the middle, so I gotta flatten one side, flip it over to flatten it again to make sure it's perfectly straight. So, time to plane. Alright, after planing, I'm not worried about the bottom side, which is where this gap is, but the top side up here is the flat. We'll flip it over, let it flat, then we'll plane the other side, then it'll be perfectly parallel top to bottom. Alright, hey, I got my epoxy all mixed up, and now I get to add the pigments. So let me show you what that's going to look like. There's the epoxy down there. It looks bubbly, but the bubbles will go away. And here's the colors I'm going to use. We have a Diamond Deep Blue Sea. It's metallic. That's what all those sparkles are in there. And then we have a Caribbean Blue and a Rainbow Blue. So I'm going to put a little bit of all three of these into here and mix it up. Alright, first up we're going to go with Rainbow Blue. And I like this blue. It's real bright. It pops. So I'll put that in there. I don't want to do as much of the Deep Blue Sea because it'll overpower that blue and darken it up. So we're going to go just a little bit. Probably like that much right there. And we'll mix all this up and see what it looks like. And if I like it, we'll run with it. But if I want another color, then we'll add that. And Caribbean Blue is my last one, just to give it a little bit lighter. I'm going to go a little bit more of this, because I think it'll kind of even out the blues. I want to hair more of that. And if you look down in there, you can see the three colors. Let's mix it up. It's my favorite part. Here we go. And then also we can tell the translucency, if that's even a word, by running it on a stick. And I have a stick, and I'll show you in a minute once I look for it. If it's too translucent, we'll just add the colors again to make it darker so you can't see through it. Translucent just means kind of see-through. Opaque is more of a solid color where you can't see through it as much. That's my favorite part right here, seeing those colors come together within the clear. And that is a pretty blue. You can kind of see on the back side right there, it's where it's dark. That's where the Deep Blue Sea color was. And right here, like in the middle, you can see the different colors within it. They were kind of mixed together. So the darker spots are the deep blue. Then you got the brightness of the rainbow blue. And then a little bit of light. The lightest color in there is the Caribbean blue. So it kind of mixes the three colors together. It looks really cool. And that's why I like mixing a couple different pigments together. Because you get that really cool reflection off of different angles of light and darkness. And it just kind of gives it some depth. Let's get it mixed up a little bit more, and then we're going to look at it on a stick to see how translucent it is. And I do that to get it off the mixer. Alright, and then I take my little stick here, and we just pour it in there. If you can see the stick, which I can clearly see through it, that means it's see-through. So we need to go darker pigments, because that's not dark enough. You shouldn't be able to see the wood on the ruler, which is a paint stick here. So we got to go a little bit darker. Let me just get this epoxy off here, put that back in the bucket, and then I'm going to go with a lot more rainbow blue here. Now that's the only color I'm going to add back to it, and I just don't see enough of that in there, although it's the primary color. We'll add more of it because that's the main color I want it to be. So we'll get some more of this pigment. We're going to go thick with it this time. That should do, and it doesn't take a lot because a little bit goes a long way. Let's mix that in. Sorry about the focus going in and out. It's just when the drill gets closer, the phone that I'm recording on focuses on the object closest to the camera. Always pull it out to go fast to sling all the epoxy off of the mixer with centrifugal force, so I don't waste any. Alright, that's a little bit see-through still, so you know what, I'm just going to add a little bit more of the other two colors, and it should be at the perfect consistency of translucency, so we don't see through it. So let's go with a tad bit of Caribbean blue. And that's cool how it just like splattered in there. And I don't want to go a whole lot of this deep blue over here, so I'm just going to go with a tiny bit right there. Now this should put us exactly where I need to be. And if not, then I'll just add more of the rainbow blue. And then I got to get it poured into the mold, which is on the top right of this screen, or the top of it. You can see it over there in the background. See the numbers here? It's barely translucent, but I want it a little bit more opaque, so we're going to go with a little bit more of the rainbow blue. I know a while ago I said it should be good, but apparently it's too light of a color, and I'm at 94 degrees, 93, so I need to get it poured out pretty quickly, around 100 degrees, because that's called the time to pour. And just so it's really thick and opaque, or I'm going to put quite a bit in there. There we go. Rainbow blue. And you got to mix this thoroughly. It's kind of like mixing cake. You got to get all those powder pockets broken up. That way there's no pockets of powders that doesn't cook and epoxy doesn't mix, because if you do, you'll see the little air pockets of powder versus liquid, and you want it all liquid. Now, whether this is good or not, I'm just going to go ahead and pour it anyway, because I'm running out of time when it comes to the temperature. Alright, I got last powder mix here, and then I got to do a hand mix. Get that there, pull it to the side, then we're going to hand mix this bad boy. You got to scrape the walls because there's stuff that's stuck to the walls, and you want to incorporate all that epoxy so it's all mixed in. And once you get all that mixed in, you just hand stir it for a little bit, and then everything should be incorporated. And I use the bottom of it to scrape the bottom of the bucket as well, because you need to scrape up that epoxy that's in the bottom to get it mixed in with the rest of the bucket, so it's all well incorporated and mixed evenly. And sorry I was talking during the drilling, it's just hard to hear over the drill. Alright, we're going to hand mix this. And if you look closely, opaque, look at that, it looks good. It ends up going translucent, but when you first pull it out, you can see how thick it is. The piece is going to be about 1 inch thick, but this first layer I'm pouring is only about 1/4 inch, so we should be good on translucency by the time I get a couple more pours on the actual board itself, and you won't be able to see through it. But I think what I might do is, as I come up in layers, the first 1/4 inch maybe the most opaque, and then as I come up to the surface, the last quarter maybe a little bit more translucent, so it looks like more depth. All right, well, there we have it. That is the color we're going with. Well mixed up, and I bet we're at temperature 99.5. It is time to pour. All right, are you ready for this? Time to pour this beautiful blue mixture of epoxy. And that's going to be the first layer. Gotta scrape the walls like when I was mixing it, because if I don't, you see all that? It's like getting all the mayonnaise out of the jar. If you don't, man, that's a whole spoonful you could waste out on. Look at all that good epoxy right there. Oh man, that's gonna look good. Look at that. You can already get a preview of what it's gonna, the finished product to be. But the finished product's gonna be even better than what we're looking at right now. Man. Try to get all this out. I know it's only a little bit, but a little bit goes a long way. And there's a little wormhole over here I want to try to get covered up. I think what I might do is also do this to kind of seal the front edge, because it'll keep bubbles from getting in there as well. One second, let me try to put this bucket down. And then I've already sealed this wood, that's why it looks shiny, because it's already got epoxy, a seal coat on it. But we do this as well for the next pour. It'll kind of seal it up some more and just prevent some bubbles from coming to the surface. And that just makes sure that in the final pour there's not a lot of bubbles that are in this piece. And it's okay if it gets on the top, because I'm going to surface the top anyway, which basically just grinds away any debris or dried epoxy on the top that you don't want on the finished product. I'm going to do some swirls here in just a moment. And I know you won't really be able to see it in the final coat because this layer right here is going to get covered up. But you can kind of get a preview of what the next layer, final layer would be. Okay, that looks pretty good there, and I've got this wormhole filled in over here. All right. Do this so the stick doesn't. All right. So first thing I'm going to do is we're going to take this torch and we're going to pop some bubbles with the torch. I don't like this torch. You go upside down with it and it wants to turn off. It's like it only works if it's vertical. So what I'm doing here is popping surface bubbles. If I can. Come on now. There we go. That's good enough. So the next thing we do is I can swirl this around with the stick just to give it some little movement and texture. And then I'm going to hit it with the alcohol, because what the alcohol does is also pop bubbles and it gives it some movement. And what I'm going to do is I have 99% isopropyl alcohol. This one in my hand is mixed with a little bit of pearl. So it's going to have some pearl pigment shimmers in it as well. I don't know why it's leaking all over. There we go. That's all that needed. And now you can kind of see some sparkling shimmer. Let me zoom in so you can see the exothermic reaction to it. Then I'm going to also hit it with regular alcohol. Not the pearl, but regular. One of the coolest things that we can do after spraying it, set it on fire. So to burn off the alcohol and pop the bubbles. So we're going to hit that real quick. It's going to be a big flame. Watch out. And what that does is it just burns off the alcohol and pops all the bubbles. And now we just let it sit and wait, rest and cure, and there we go. There's your sample of what it will look like once I do the other half. Because you can see on the side of the board, we still got some more thickness to go to get the full thing completed. But there you have it. Alright, I'm about to do the second layer of the pour on the board, and I forgot to start the video and I started a little late, but all I did so far is mix up the clear epoxy, and I put just a tad bit, a little scoop of Deep Blue Sea, and that's what's in there now. We're going to continue on. I'm going to add just a little bit of this Caribbean blue here. That's going to give like a little lighter color in the epoxy. If you look over here, you can see that is not a shadow. That is this color right here that I just put in there. That's what you see there. And then the next color is going to be the rainbow blue. And that's pretty much what the rest of that is. And we're going to mix this up and then pour. That's a lot. That's good. I kind of want this one a little bit transparent. So I'm not going to put as much as I did in the first batch so we can see through it a little bit. Now let me just mix this up. That's my favorite part, is watching this. It's still kind of clear in the epoxy, and then boom, it just, like venom, it just spreads. Look at that, so cool. The edges are still clear though. If you can see around the edges, I gotta get over there and incorporate the clear epoxy into the color. And that is a really nice color, I like that. So what we're doing is incorporating the clear with the pigmented color, because the pigmented color will mix with a little bit of the clear epoxy right near it, but you got to really get the sides in order to get that other clear epoxy to mix in with the colored epoxy, so everything can be colored. If not, you'll have a little bit of spurts of clear, and when you have that, then it's not completely solid in the color, but it kind of looks cool if you did it that way as a pigmented effect, or I'm sorry, like a 3D effect. Alright, let me grab the ruler, my stir stick here, and see how translucent this looks. I think with having a dark blue background, even if it is not as solid as I'd like it, or it's more translucent, you can see through it, which you can see clearly. You can see the wood grain. I think I'm gonna leave it like this, honestly, because as thick as it gets, the thicker it is, the more opaque it is, not as see-through. But with having that blue as the background over there, it's you're not gonna be able to see through it. And if you do see through this, you're just gonna see into this. So I'm gonna leave it like this right now. I just gotta wait for it to get up to temperature. Once it's up to temperature, I can pour it. So let's see what the current temperature is. I need at least 95 to 100. I like to shoot for 98 to 100. Oh, perfect. Look at that, 991. So it is time to pour. Let's pour. And as I start to pour, I had those brackets on here holding the pieces down so the wood would not float. And I took them off because this is solid enough now. I know this ain't going anywhere because the current layer of epoxy that's in there is stuck to the bottom. So I can pop those off so you can see the whole thing without anything disrupting it. All right, here we go. I'll do it towards the camera and then pour it this way. My favorite part is the pour. Yay, look at that. I don't even know if I want to do any swirls in it or not. It looks pretty good as is. I hope I poured enough. It looks like I might be short. Might have to do a third layer on the top. Maybe not. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do another layer. I gotta get in that hole right there. Yeah, I miscalculated. What it is, around the edges back here, the epoxy is leaking over on the edges here and going around the wood to the back, because there's a small little channel in the back there, a little pocket, and my epoxy is escaping to back there to fill it in. It did not do that very much on the first pour, but it's doing it now. It's all right though, because what it does, it'll cover up all the little holes and small crevices and stuff and fully saturate this wood. Even on the back side, it'll penetrate. Oops, sorry, my head tapped the camera on accident. There we go. Get this last little bit in there. Like Folgers, I think it's their thing. Good till the very last drop. Is that Folgers?
It's Maxwell House.
Maxwell House? Oh, Folgers is something about best part of waking up is Folgers in my cup or something?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this design won't stay here, but if I do like swirls in it, the epoxy is going to move. It has this thing called an exothermic reaction because it does heat up. You saw a while ago it was right at 99 degrees. I guarantee it's a little bit hotter right now. It kind of acts like smoke, and it's going to roll as it heats up and stuff. So I can leave this little design in here like this. Will not stay though, I guarantee you, because it's going to roll around and do whatever it wants, and it's going to have a different design. But just for purposes, not purposes, 103. So typically you don't want it to get over 110 before you pour, but you can see there's a lip here. Actually, if I look at this, it's not even level. If I turn it this way, you'll see it roll down. I don't know why. I know the boards are perfectly flat. Now if you watch it, it's going to shift that way. You see it rolling? That tells me the mold is not flat. Either way, I'm going to have to do another layer. But let's get the bubbles out of this one. First, I'm just going to pop it with a fire. Use a heat source. You can use a blow dryer or a heat gun. Blow dryer kind of doesn't really pop it too much. It actually just push it around. It'll move it. A heat gun will pop it, but it also pushes it. But the fire doesn't unless you hold it on there for a little bit longer. I don't want to do that because you could burn the epoxy. Yes, it does actually burn. And then I'm going to show you the trick with the alcohol. This is 99% isopropyl alcohol. It leaves a really cool effect. Watch this. Let it sit there for a second. You'll start seeing it kind of move around and stuff. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And see if you can see it taking place. Maybe I got to do a bigger droplet. There it goes. You can kind of see it. You see it rolling? Let me point. You see my shadow right here? It's starting to roll. This little lighter bit, this lighter circle spot, you see it rolling. It's kind of like clouds in a storm. But if I zoom back out, you can see all the other big spots now. You see the big ones? Big, 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 big. They're going to just keep rolling. And that's what I was telling you. They kind of act like clouds in a way, or smoke, and they roll. And that's what the epoxy does. As it starts to cure, it has this exothermic reaction, and it rolls around until it solidifies. And we'll hit it with a torch just to burn that off the top. Actually, it's already dried and evaporated. And actually, if you look really closely on the edges, you can kind of see the translucency. Let me see if I can show you what I'm talking about here. You can kind of see through the epoxy to the wood. And at this angle in the phone, it's hard to tell, but you can see the reflection on the top side of the screen. You can actually, right there where it's kind of whitish, reflecting off the wall of the mold, you can kind of see where that reflection disappears. There it is, it comes back, but then you can see the wood through the blue because it's not completely saturated with the epoxy pigment. And that's what I was going for, so it's exactly what I wanted it to do. Let's see what the surface temperature of it now is. Now when you put alcohol on the epoxy, it starts to cool it down because this kind of acts like a fire extinguisher, and it will, now it's up to 110. It shouldn't get much hotter than this. I'm actually about to turn this fan on. I forgot to do that. I didn't want it on while I was talking, but it will kind of cool it down because you don't want it to get overheated because it can crack. But yet when you go pop bubbles, you are heating it up. And I'm going to pop some bubbles now. So let me turn this fan back off so it doesn't blow my flame out. If you look really close, you can kind of see the bubbles popping. They're little bitty, micro, tiny bubbles. I may come back and do one more popping with the heat source, but I don't want to add too much heat to it. Although the heat does get out a lot of the micro bubbles, I just don't want to harden it too fast, because if I do put heat in there, one, you can burn it, but also you can cure it too quickly. And when you cure it too quickly, it gets really hard really fast, and you don't want that, because later that could become brittle and crack on you. So you do want to kind of just keep it at a cooler temperature as much as possible without kind of forcing it too bad. I'm gonna do a swirl here, because if I do the swirl now, it won't move as much now that it's been sitting in the tray for a few minutes, and I'm kind of done adding a heat source to it. I say that, but watch me go back in and do it. But then I'll go ahead and calm it down with the alcohol. I was trying to get a little cool design up in here. But this will move. This will not stay the same. But you can see the lighter blue in there off the reflection. The lighter blue is the Caribbean blue color that I used. And I'm just playing around with it because I just don't want it one solid color and kind of look weird. So do that. Then I'm going to spray some big droplets in here. And then the alcohol does its own thing. It makes a different effect look to it. And you can see it work. It's slowly rolling with the alcohol in there now and gives it a cool little design. So there you have it. And the way I'm looking at it up here, and it's really hard to tell in the video, but it looks like there's about this much of clear on the top. And you can, it does give that 3D effect. And that's what I was going for. I do like this. I'm actually happy with this one. This is pretty nice. What do you think? Okay, y'all, I'm in the third pour, or third layer of my charcuterie board. And if you missed out earlier, I have 3 colors I'm using. Diamond Deep Blue Sea, I got Rainbow Blue, and I also have Caribbean Blue. I'm barely going to put just a tad bit, very, very small amount of the Deep Blue Sea in here. I don't want it really dark on the top, so I'm going to leave that color very light. I really use that one for the metallic because it has a lot more metallic than these other colors. But with dark blue, I'm sorry, rainbow blue, we're going to give it quite a bit. That's a lot. See that? Boom. Go a little bit more with that one because I want it really, really blue. All right. And then we're going to just do a little bit of this because I don't want it too Caribbean-ish. But I want it more than that darker blue that we just put in. Just so it can kind of have the swirl effect. And you can kind of see the 2 blues like up there. All right. So, you see the colors. Time to mix it. My favorite part is just watching these colors get sucked into the clear and how it swirls around. Oh, there it went. Now we got to incorporate it into the clear. But if I don't, you'll see some kind of like 3D-ish look to it. I don't really care that it mixes up too much because I do like the 3D look where it's a little bit clear. But what I do want to do is bust up all the powders so there's no unmixed powders in there. I got to get the powders mixed up. So I'm not going to scrape the walls this time like I've been doing, or the bottom. I'm just going to drill mix it. Alright, I think this is going to be a good enough mix for me for this top and final layer. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this out. Save what little epoxy I can. Alright, now we just got to wait for it to get up to temperature. And then we can pour it. We got a ways to go, so I need to be close to 100 degrees. So we're just gonna let this sit for a little bit and let some of the bubbles come to the surface and pop them. We'll pour this in just a little bit, but that little bit in the video will just be here in a few seconds. So I'm gonna call it a timeout. All right, time in. I got my epoxy here, ready to pour. Check the temp. 101, good to go. Here we go. My favorite part, outside of mixing, is the pour. Yay. I gotta see where we're at, so I'm not gonna pour everything out just yet. I'm gonna kind of make sure that I don't pour out too much because I don't want to waste a bunch. So I'll kind of just maneuver this around a little bit to see what the level looks like. I don't want to over pour it. So we'll just watch it roll into all the crevices and then let it settle out a little bit. Come back over here. Trying to get down here on the bottom. I might need a little bit more. I'll pour out of this bucket. I'll go back this way. Sorry about the camera. Trying to get everywhere I can real quick. I'm doing it without a cameraman, so camera is stationary. And it's okay if it rolls up on the wood itself. Okay, yeah. Now I can see where I'm at level wise. Okay. That's why I said it doesn't matter if it pours up on there, because I can use this to scrape that off back into the pool. And I see that I'm a little low over here. I don't know if you can tell that in the camera, but it is a little low. Scrape the edges off because this is all going to be. I can see clearly there's a lot missing right here, so we're just going to pour more. You do want it to slightly go over the lip everywhere though, so we have enough. I just don't want to pour way too much and not be able to get it out of there if I didn't have enough. This is looking pretty good. I'm just gonna have to pour some right in there to fill up that little pool area. Get a little bit in here and up here. And I'm just gonna hit these edges real quick just to make sure that I have enough in there. Slight over pour. And I do got a little bit left in there, but I have molds I can use, so that will not go to waste. Well, let me hit the torch real quick and pop some of these bubbles. And then I'll see, when you do this, it heats it up and thins it out, and it kind of moves. This is self-leveling. It'll move a little bit more, and I can see where it will settle at, and if I still have any low spots. Right here, it doesn't look like it's low. It's slightly over the lip. I don't think it's low here, but I'd rather be too safe and pour a little extra than be too low. But it looks like it's leaning that way. Yeah, I'm gonna pour it a little bit more out on there. I have it, and it's what it's made for. Sorry about the boys laughing in the background. I do this work at home. Like, I want to say that's good, but then I'm eyeballing it on the ends to look at this line here to see if that's flat and straight. And it looks pretty good because you have a little hump right here and a little hump right there, which is good. If this is over the boards, then I know that I have enough. And it does look pretty level. Because if you look there, you see the wood slightly down, and over here it kind of curved on me. That was a mistake I made by pulling the clamps off. I won't do that next time, so I'm going to have to plane this down to get it back level and flat again. But I see that I have a little bit of overage here where it's pouring onto the wood. That tells me I have enough over there. A lot more over here. Let me pour this layer over here into one of my molds. That way we don't waste this. Let's go with the little ones here. Okay, that should be good on that one. I'm gonna try to turn it so y'all can see me pour this one. Here we go. I think that'll be good on this one. And this little bit that I do have left in the bucket, I'm just going to pour it in the charcuterie mold. Because now I just made 2 crosses. So we'll go back over there to finish this off over here. Now that looks like it's real thin, but it's going to come back because I got to cut it down some. And then once I get this poured out, then we can kind of manipulate the epoxy. It's getting real thick. It's starting to harden already. Getting gummy, which is what it does. But when I add heat to it, it'll loosen it back up, and then I can manipulate it some. Yeah, that is really thick. Alright, one more scrape and we should be good. See, all that would be epoxy wasted if I just left it there. You can use that in here, and I can always plane it down later versus not having enough. It's always better to have too much than not enough. Alright, so now what I'm going to do, oh, hold on, I'm going to fix this mess because I'm leaking over here. 1 second, y'all. Okay. Now let me loosen this up with some heat. It'll pop some bubbles, and then we can manipulate it some. At these edges. Fire's done. Actually, I'm going to turn this around just so it's closer to me. And I can work on it on this side. It's a little bit closer. So I'm going to take my little stir stick that I had. It's just a paint stick from Home Depot. And this doesn't go very deep because that other layer is underneath it. But what this does is allow me to make some little swirl designs in here. But it won't finish like this because as it moves and cures, or I'm sorry, as it cures, it moves around. And I'm just trying to go random now so it doesn't look like it's a perfect pattern of some sort. There we go. That's kind of cool looking. And then I can come back in here with my alcohol, and from this side I'll spray it and pop some bubbles, and it gives it a cool little effect. I'll let it set for a second, and then we're going to catch this whole thing on fire because that'll pop the other bubbles. Now, you ready for that? Let's go. Woo, baby! And it burns out pretty quickly because it's just isopropyl alcohol. I want some other designs in it, and it's about to harden because I know how gummy it is. I don't like this line right here, and I'm just going to change it up some and do some other cool little designs. This is totally random here. I'm just going to have to do the popping of the bubbles again. There we go. I'm going to use this other torch. And it's starting to get gummy, and I can tell by how it moves because I've been working with this a while. So I'm gonna get a few more pop, and then I'm gonna spray it one more time with the alcohol. It won't be rolling like the other ones did because it's not as thick. This is a thinner layer, so it won't roll as much as the other ones used to. But I'm gonna hit it with some big droplets, and then that should kind of put like a little cool effect in it. And then it should actually kind of cure similarly close to what this looks like now. And I'll hit one more time with fire. Oh, it evaporated quick. It should have caught that whole thing on fire, but it didn't. And I'm just gonna let some more bubbles come to the surface by leaving it alone for about 10 minutes. I'll come back and pop some more bubbles, but in the meantime, we'll go over here with the crosses. Let me zoom in so I can get a better look at what the crosses look like. Let's pop these bubbles. These can't be on it too quick, it will burn. And then we hit this up. This is thicker. So right here we got about, it's a 1 inch mold. I'm about 3/4 inch. But over there on the charcuterie board, it's thin. We got a real thin layer. So that's going to cure a lot faster than this because it's thinner. It's kind of like ice. If you had a thin layer of ice or water, that's going to freeze really fast. But if you have thicker, it's going to freeze. It's going to take longer to freeze. Alcohol. Oh, it's back there. We're just going to hit this up real quick. And that's just going to kind of help it, 1, cool off, and 2, pop bubbles. And we'll just leave it like that. Unless you don't see it on fire. You don't see an epoxy cross going on fire. I got some leakage on the outside, so it's going to catch everything on fire right here. You don't see it? Sure you do. Woo! Fire, fire. That was too long. It was on there too long. I guarantee you this right here, because I can tell, because I've worked with this stuff for long enough. It's going to harden at the surface, but underneath it's going to be more liquidy. So if I were to put a toothpick in there right now and pick it up, it'd be really, really gummy instead of liquidy. So we're not going to put no more fire on this. Well, you know what? There's some bubbles I do want to get out of there, and it's easier to pop it with fire than it is the alcohol. So we're going to do that one more time in just a minute. And then we'll cool it off with the torch. I'm sorry, cool it off with the alcohol, and then just leave it alone. But it's kind of cool though. I can kind of see, because I didn't mix it completely. Like the edges of it kind of have a clearish layer to it. Alright, I'm done with that one. That's getting no more fire. We're going to hit this with alcohol and leave it. There we go. That one's done. And then back over here. Nope, let me zoom out. That's the design it's going to be very similar to. We have one more thing of fire. And then we're done with fire on this one. You always go in a sweeping motion. If you sit in one spot way too long, you can burn it. And I always go over the epoxy. I don't stop at the edge of it and then come back. I like pass it up and then come back to it, because if you do that, you stay on the edge of it just a hair too long, and you could burn it. You could gum it up. Alright, that's done. One last squirt of alcohol. And we leave it. We'll turn this fan on so it can start cooling. And there you have it. That board's going to look very similar. Now you can see this dark line here. That's the edge of the wood. So this epoxy right here will get ground off when I plane it. Same as this over here. You see this dark line? That's the wood. So everything on the right side of that dark line will be gone. Right here. That's going to disappear and be just wood. And a little bit right in here as well. But the design itself was going to look very similar to this right here. And you can kind of see some of the dark lines in there, then the other lighter blues, which looks pretty cool. And there you have it. The next step, the third layer is done. After this, I will plane it. I'll get it back completely flat. We'll cut the edges off, put some finish on it, and it will be done. Finally. Thanks for watching. So I gotta flatten the piece now, and I came up here to the maker barn to use the CNC machine because I want one of these and I love this machine. So let me show you setup and then we'll start flattening. Here's the CNC. We got the piece on there, it's held down. We have a flattening jig. All this excess epoxy leaked over onto the wood, and the wood kind of curved on me, so we're just gonna flatten this out. I'm gonna run this tool manually to flatten this side. This is the bottom, and then once it's flattened, we'll flip it over and do the other side. All right, here we go.
You get far enough off there, you probably want to move up to 0 position on the line. So you've got a position display on here. Then you've also got it on here. You move that to line about 0, good shape there. And let's see, so this appears to be a 1-inch bit, so you know how much you're going to index forward, maybe 3/4 of an inch or so for overall. Yeah. Okay. And you're in good shape there. And now you want to bring, we know that 0 on Z should be your touch off. And, maybe you want to take it down and start off with something like a 50,000th cut or something like that. About the epoxy first. Right. That was fine. Okay. So we're good here. Now, this is your spindle control. We need to make sure that we know which directions to go. We do want it to be rotating clockwise as we look at the top, counterclockwise to the bottom. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and oh, wait a minute. Auto manual. There we go. Yeah. And, well, I'm just going to do this without that manipulation. Okay, so that's running in the proper direction. Okay. I don't necessarily know what the spindle speed is, but so we get that running, and then like 18,000 pounds. So, all right. Now, make sure, I think I'm going to suggest you start it off on the slowest multiplier. You're going to be moving just the x-axis, right? So, you set the x. I'll probably put it on the slowest multiplier until you get familiar with how the speed is and so forth. And rock and roll. There you go. You're in the back corner now. Yep.
one moment.
The touchscreen, or you could use the keyboard.
F2 load file.
Okay, and then
We just created a file on the computer. Now we're going to go look for it.
member files.
Go down to my name. There it is. The
And
flat
we want the CNC.
CNC, because we're on the CNC machine now.
Somebody must have left one in here with that same name before, so we're going to overwrite what's stored locally here with
Okay.
this. Okay.
So hit O.
And there's your
And
CNC
job
file.
name, flatten. That's what I named it.
Okay.
And then we're going to turn
So
this
now-
vacuum on and run it.
Well, there are a couple of things that are going
Okay.
to happen now. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and cycle start.
Machine home.
Okay, so now that's all set. So tool change if you needed to. We're not going to do that anything. So we continue, and now it wants us to jog over the top where we're going to do a tool touch off with the touch off plate again. All right, so that's a manual operation.
All right. I'm going to pause to go do that.
And
All right. Touch it off.
I don't know where I don't think that this is the same as this. Hey, Trevor?
Yeah.
Trying to
Did
figure
you know
something out real
that
quick.
this stop is the same as reset here?
It doesn't, if you want to stop it, you have to go to the screen.
That's where I was going.
Okay,
it's
stop it
really,
on the
really
machine.
Okay. So we're in good shape here. We can actually just go ahead and start. So press the green start. Yep.
It's going to run through the program
Oh,
here.
okay. Let's reset. Cancel out of this.
Cycle
We're-
start to start.
We were
job.
in auto mode up here. All right, so that needs to be on auto.
Okay.
All right, so that's all loaded up here. Now we can just do this process again. Cycle start again. Come on. Oh, this is still.
It's tripped. There we go. Reset
Now it's
cleared.
reset. So now we can do this.
And then machine vacuum on.
We're gonna need to go back and reset the height.
0. Okay.
All right, so we cycle start again. Now we
Jog. We're going to do this again.
jog over.
This is what I did just a second ago. He's going to do it this time. So we're just going to move the tool to a flat piece. I'm going to put it there.
Now I'm gonna do cycle start here.
And what we're going to do is we're going to flatten this board a little more with the CNC, like not manual mode, but CNC mode. Should we put the vacuum on?
No, I don't think it's gonna help
Okay.
because we don't.
Yeah, it's already everywhere. So we just put a program in. Now this is running with the machine versus manually by me using this handheld device where you would jog it. And we're only going down 0.010 of an inch per pass. So I get it where I want it. And you can see where it's taken off. And it's going to do this until 1 full inch, which I just gave it plenty of depth to go down. But clearly I'm going to stop the machine before it gets 1 inch deep because the board itself is only 1 inch. We're just trying to flatten it all out. And it's making a mess right now because we don't have the dust collection on. and so you can see the operations. And I can smell that epoxy. You smell it? No VOCs though, so it ain't gonna hurt you to inhale it. And it's gonna do this for an hour. But I'm probably gonna stop it before an hour.
I bet you won't get through 3 passes.
Probably not. After this first pass, I want to do a hyperlapse, so it just speeds it up on my video. This is the other mesmerizing part of making these, is watching the CNC do this work. That's why I went to become a machinist last year at Lone Star College, because I wanted to learn how to operate these things, because this is just therapeutic to me. And this is where it's bowed out because I don't hear it cutting right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop this video, and then I'll do another one with hyperlapse after this goes to the far left. Okay, so we sped it up. It was at 100%. We went up to 200%, so it would go faster. And we still got some more to go. All this dark spot right here is still epoxy. We got to get rid of. So we got to get rid of all that to make it flat. And you can kind of see the angle now right here where it's dark and it goes wider to this end. That's all gotta be the same color, then I'll know that it's flat. And once that's flat, then we can flip it and do the other side, flatten it out. So we'll just watch this pass. You don't hear it cutting because it's too low of a spot. So it's still got some work to do on the ends. Alright, I flipped it over and now we are flattening the top side. And it's going to be opposite of the bottom side. The bottom side, it was being cut in the middle and took the outside last. Now it's going to cut the outside first and in the middle last. So now it's probably not going to touch anything until it goes all the way to the other side of the wood, the piece that's furthest away from the video, the camera right now. And it's not going to touch any of this. So I'm going to pause it till it gets over there. Now we're on the other side and you can see where it's cutting, where it goes light at. This next pass is probably going to cut a lot more. You'll hear it. There it is.
must have been.
There you go, cutting some more wood. Still at a high spot right here. Well, not a high spot. I don't want to overcut it. Once I take the material away, I can't put it back. So we're cutting small chunks at a time. You see how close it is. This is kind of boring right here because it's not actually cutting anything. Once it cuts stuff, that's the cool part. There we go. And it's going to cut right there. There we go. It's just going to take a while. It's going to work from the outside inwards, and all it's doing is flattening it to make it perfectly parallel, top surface to bottom surface. Alright, the next set of passes should be next to the last. If you look over there in that corner, where it's kind of dark spot, that's what we're trying to get rid of. This pass here should do that. I hope. It's probably going to have a little bit left over though, but if I have to run a couple more passes, I will. But once that spot right there is flat, then we'll be done. It looks flat from here, but that's epoxy that's leaked out up and over the wood. And we're trying to make sure the wood is exposed and not covered up with epoxy. So got a few more passes to go to get that thing perfectly flat. Let's see what happens here. I got some of it. See the dark spot? That dark spot needs to go away. So we're gonna have to do another couple passes over the whole board just to get rid of that. So the next thing I gotta do is cut this edge off right here and this one right here to square them up, but I don't have a camera stand, so I don't know if I can actually record this, but that's what I'm doing now. Here I am at a saw stop, table saw, and what I forgot to do is do a video before I cut it. But on the miter saw, I cut the edges on both ends, but on this saw I cut the tops and the bottoms, and I've already squared them up, ran it through there, cut them up, and everything is square and good to go. Now time for sanding and the next coat. And next up, I'm over here at the drum sander. So I'm gonna run this through here and this sanding belt will sand the surface. So I'm gonna try to get these lines out of here now and sand it out. If I can't do it by this machine, I'll have to do it by hand, but I'll get both sides of this sanded down and that will be fixed. Don't worry about that. All right, here we go. See how many lines are in it. Now you can see how smooth they're getting. And that's what happens. You just keep putting this in there over and over and over, and it sands it down for you. I'm gonna do this until it's smooth. Smooth as I'd like it. Easy process. Alright, about to use this rounded bit here and round off the corners so they're not so sharp. Now if you look at it, you can see there's one sharp edge on the left side there, and on the top side it's rounded now. See the rounded? I'm about to just do this to everything, all sides. Alright, I'm in my dirty workshop and my vise broke. So I went and bought a new one. This big bad boy. Hopefully that one doesn't break. I have the board locked up in a vise. As you can see, and what I'm about to do now is I'm going to put the finger grooves in right here using my router. So that's what I'm about to work on now. I don't like that positioning, so I'm going to reset it. Stand by. Okay, I repositioned the camera and I repositioned my router bit. Pretty sure I'm more centered now. So, let's try this again. I hope you can see it. I'm not too sure, but I gotta go. Cut this. bit too deep, so I gotta shorten it up some. I should probably wear a respirator because this epoxy dust is everywhere. So I'm going to go do that, and I'll be right back. Let me pause. All right, I'm back. Readjusted this again. Here we go. Woo-wee. This is a mess. I got my length, now I just got to go deeper and make a deeper finger well. I forgot to readjust it a while ago, so in the center I went too deep right away. But you gotta take little cuts down, down, down. So I went the lengthways, which clearly is enough to put your fingers in. Now I just gotta go a little bit deeper. And once I go a little bit deeper, this ought to be done. And it is messy. Look at all this epoxy everywhere. All right, next cut depth. You remember in Home Alone when I think Harry asked Marv, why the hell you dress like a chicken? That's what I feel like right now. All right, here we go. Should be the last and final cut. We'll see. we go. Pretty good little finger groove right there. Let me show you a little bit closer. Oh, I dropped my phone. Sorry about that. But here we go. I'll clean that out. This dry epoxy land's hard to get out with your bare fingers. But look at this mess it made. There is epoxy everywhere. All over me, all over the workshop. But got the finger groove, excuse me, in and done. Now I gotta flip it over and do the other side. Alright, I got it out and flipped around. And after looking at this mess, I completely forgot to tell one of my kids to come out here with the vacuum cleaner and vacuum as I was cutting. So I'm gonna do that now. And when I do this cut, you can see here I got my marks. I'm gonna go do this in time lapse. I don't have my camera stand, so we gotta make do with this, but I'm gonna go ahead and pour this epoxy over this board for this next step. I'll leave some of this in the cup in case I need it somewhere else, but take that and get this spreader here and kind of just spread it out. And all this is doing is putting a real thin layer of epoxy on the top surface. And you do run it right over the edges so it completely saturates the entire board. And just like that, it's pretty good to go. I'll just come back and pop these bubbles, and as I pop the bubbles, it is self-level. Trying to find a good spot to put the spreader without it sticking to everything. But there you go. I mean, it's that simple. Final coat. I'm gonna hit my torch and then pop some bubbles. And as this heats up, it gets more fluid, so it self-level a little bit better. And cover evenly. And there you have it. So this is a good example of what the final product will look like. Alright, we're almost at the very last step of this board. And I have fire. And I have my logo. So I'm going to heat up my stamp here so I can put my stamp into the board. And I'll sand that down and we'll put the final finish on, and it is done. So I'm going to heat this up. I'm just going to place the fire on here until it's like really hot orange. And then I will go press this into the wood to burn my logo in the board. Just got to heat this up all around. Get it glowing orange. Takes a few minutes to get this thing nice and super hot. It's really thick, so it takes a minute to really get everything in there. But I see something in here I don't like, so I'm going to try to get it out. If I can have my cameraman grab this torch and just hold it out away from me real quick. I'm going to try to fix something. Don't press the lever. Don't press the lever.
Let's try not to do that.
Alright, sorry about that. There was a small little BB in there that I did not like. I didn't want that getting pressed into the engraving. We're almost there. It's kind of orange. I'm trying to get a little bit brighter orange so I can walk over to the piece and have time for it to not cool off so fast. So I gotta warm it up a little bit more. And I still got to turn this torch off and do all of that pretty quickly. It's glowing pretty good. Don't ask how hot this is because I don't know. I should get an IR. I have my IR gun. I could hit it to see how hot it is, but alright. I'm about to lay this down, turn the torch off, and we're going to pause the video as I walk across the shop or the garage to the workpiece. And here we go. Alright, here we go. There we have it. Burning my logo into the board. SS for Strauss Studios. Now I'm going to lightly hit this with a sander. We'll kind of get some of that black out of the way, and then we'll hit it with the finish, and it is done. Alright, time to sand this flat and clean it up. That was a little easy. Take some air. Bring the logo out some. What I like to do, hit it with a nylon brush to clean out any burnt chars. And it kind of cleans it up a little bit more. I even go at it backwards. Let me turn the speed up. There we have it. And the rest of this board is pretty smooth, but just to make sure it blends in well, I'm gonna hit the whole thing one last time with the sander. Sorry about the air compressor turning on. And sorry that the sander's too loud. Alright, now one final cleaning. Alright. gets most of the sand off, the wood off from the sanding. But this still got some surface dust, so I'm going to clean it with 99% isopropyl alcohol. It also gives you a preview of what the finish is going to look like. Look at that. Why is that coming out so? There we go. That's what the finish will look like. But I got to clean this up. This is the dirtier one. There we go. And this is just getting all that dust off. So when I put the finish on there, there's no dust that gets trapped in here. Nobody wants to be served food off of some dust that's trapped. You just hit this real quick. I'll flip it over. This is just a microfiber towel. It has like the coarse side and the fine side. Switching to the fine side to get it one more time. And I'm going to use this side. Actually, that's the cleaner side. I'm going to use this side to buff in the top coat finish. But the thing is, I don't want to do it when it's wet to trap in any moisture. Alcohol does dry pretty quickly. But I can also speed up the drying process with compressed air. So I'm going to do that real quick. See these dark spots? That's moisture. Not anymore. If it comes back, that means it's just deeper into the wood. Didn't mean to blow my rag off. Sorry again about the air compressor, but what's next is walrus oil used for cutting boards. So if it's meant for cutting boards, it means it's food safe. There's not really on the back, but I know a lot of other woodworkers that use this. What's in here is coconut oil, beeswax, mineral oil, and vitamin E, which are all safe to consume if you actually drink this or ate it or whatever, which you're not. But food that contacts this, which will be on this surface, is safe to eat. So I don't know if this is actual oil from a real walrus. I think it's just the brand. But this is what we're going to use to do the final coat here. So I'll just pour a little bit on here. A little bit goes a long way. So don't worry about, man, that's not enough. I get my handy dandy spreader here. Spread it out. Once I get it pretty much covered around the entire board, then I can take my, what I call my buffing rag. Wow, that looks so pretty. And I will use this to buff it in, which is to press it into the wood and the epoxy here. And then there's going to be excess left over, which is fine. I'll just come back with a clean rag and wipe it off. Now for now I'm just doing one coat. I will probably come back later to do one other coat, but I'm not going to do a video for that. And the second coat will basically just, like this first one was going into the wood, and then the second coat will kind of like be a barrier protector over the top of that. Man, look at that. That is so pretty. I'm glad I chose this as the top side, because the other side, the bottom, just kind of plain, which I'll wipe up, it's a little dusty. But this side looks so much better. Wow, look at that. So I'm gonna let that sit there for, I don't know, 30 minutes or so, and then I'll come back with a clean microfiber towel and I'll wipe off the excess. That way it has time to soak into the epoxy and the wood that's in here. I love this. This is so cool. What do you think about it?